Let's talk about other challenges facing our city. 1 year and 6 weeks ago, I assumed the office of mayor amid a time of crises. Over the course of the first 3 months of 2018, we learned the crises were deeper and more extensive. The first sign of this was on day one of this new administration when we took over in the middle of an information technology meltdown. City Hall's firewall had been breached. The password did not work. The installer could not be found or identified. And we soon learned that the city's IT had been handled on an ad hoc, a la carte basis, with no apparent planning or care, no consistency, no dedicated IT person or company. With that, there was no file server, no meaningful backing up or archiving, and the network was down and had been down. On that very first day, it was uncertain whether we would even be able to print agendas and materials for that night's council meeting. We called in an outside consultant on an emergency basis and paid emergency rates for that service, there being no service plan for the city. Looking back now, that day was emblematic of the many crises we would discover over and over during the course of this past year. The problems we inherited, all the things that we found that were broken and that we had to fix. We would work on while simultaneously not allowing those problems to unduly distract or derail our plans for progress and reinvestment in our city. Something we did not begin to know on our first day here, although we suspected from a lack of reports to council, was the crisis of mismanagement of the city's finance department. We would only begin to learn the depths of that problem in the first 3 months of 2018, and we have spent every day since then fixing that, and the work continues. As we go through the present budgetary process, we are still dealing with the consequences. Before I took office, we were all told that the city had a $2.5 million surplus. What we've come to discover is that this number was nothing more than sleight of hand, enabled in part by mismanagement of our resources. Don't actually try this at home, but imagine, if you will, that one day, even though you have not lost your job and you're still collecting a paycheck, that you stop paying your mortgage, your car note, most of your bills. That you don't fix things that break, and you don't buy nutritious groceries, just bologna and cereal to get by. And you don't change the oil in your car, or fix the broken windows or the roof of your house. And this may be an oversimplification, but the point remains, if you have the money and you just don't pay for things, you too can create a deceptively impressive balance in your account. But that is not a surplus. Allow me to be blunt. Up to the beginning of 2018, the city of University Heights was not paying its bills. The city was deferring many necessary capital expenditures, had abandoned maintenance on many city assets, and made expensive and/or shoddy repairs after things broke due to a lack of care. In early 2018, we paid a months-old repaving bill from 2017 to the tune of nearly $300,000 that ended up coming out of last year's budget. We had debt collectors calling, seeking payment for things such as the Code Red payment from June of 2017, when, incidentally, there is a free program that the county offers called Ready Notify that does essentially the same thing, and which the city will be moving to this year. Council appropriated money for an ambulance and for new police cars, the purchase orders for which were closed out by the old finance director without being paid for, creating the illusion of yet another surplus at the end of 2017. And by the way, we did order and obtain those vehicles this year. When one manipulates the numbers in these ways, one can take a snapshot of a moment of time to create the appearance of a surplus. One can draw focus to that number while diverting attention from everything else. You can also create the illusion of a stronger financial position when, in 2013, you take out $2.2 million in general bond revenue. You use $600,000 of that to buy the land for the park, use $250,000 or so to demo the old school on that land, refinance some short-term notes, and then put the rest of the money elsewhere in the municipal finances. Our city will be paying for those bonds well into the next decade, long after the money is spent. The consequence is that this city has been riding a wave of borrowed cash since 2013. But that wave has crested, hit the shore, and dissipated. And now we have some hard choices to make in this year's budget. On top of that, in the year 2017, the city of University Heights did not balance its checkbook. Not even once. Early in 2018, when we had our initial meeting with the auditors to do the city's annual audit, it became evident that we had nothing to give them. The city had not kept books in 2017 that could be audited. The city had not done any monthly bank reconciliations in 2017, and here we were in February of 2018, and they were still not being done. And at the same time, we were operating under temporary continuing appropriations as no budget had been passed for 2018, and under state law, we were required to pass one by the end of March. I called the then finance director into my office. I told him that on top of working on the current year's budget, we needed to go back and construct monthly bank reconciliations starting with January 2017. He said, "That's going to be a lot of work." And I said, "I know, a year's work. More even, because it's already February." I gave the two people I inherited in the finance office the opportunity to fix this. By the end of March, we passed a budget, such as it was. And by mid-April, when no progress in doing the books for 2017 had been had, the turnover in the city finance department began. Our city had to take 2 extensions of our audit in 2017, and that's the maximum allowed under state law. If we didn't come up with books by then, the state would have declared us unauditable. That would have been a huge black eye for this city, and that surely would have negatively affected our ability to make the kinds of investments in this city that we need to in order to grow this city and make it financially sustainable. The finance office was mismanaged the year before I got here, but then it had become my responsibility to fix it. And we did. It started in finding the right people. Our finance director now is James Goff. Mr. Goff is formerly of the State Auditor's Office and State Attorney General's Office, formerly the finance director of Canal Fulton. And when he took over in Canal Fulton, it was under similar dire circumstances. He turned around Canal Fulton, and he is turning around University Heights. With Mr. Goff and our new team in finance, thus began the salvage operation of the 2017 finances, while trying to hold together everything in 2018 so that we can now implement best practices in 2019 and make sound, long-range plans and decisions. Our new finance staff reconstructed the 2017 books and gave the auditors something to audit, and we passed. Official word of that just came out in mid-November. We are transitioning to a new accounting system, improving record keeping, and now have internal controls in place. And even though cities are not required by law to do this, after our present budget process is concluded, we will begin working on a 5-year forecast, just like school districts do, to aid in our ability to make meaningful long-range plans for this city. Something which simply has not been done in years, if ever. The city's biggest accomplishment in 2018 might just be that the new finance department saved our hides so that we can do the many things we need to do to rebuild and grow this city.